Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Bug Jar. So today we are joined by our good friend and mandolinist and guitarist, Eddie McGee. I met Eddie about a year or so ago at my job, and he's joined us on a number of shows since then. I guarantee he's going to be playing some more shows with us because he's a fantastic player. I know he used to be pretty involved in old-time music, and in more recent years he's transitioned to doing a lot more pop and rock stuff. He plays in two bands. He plays with Renee Page, and he also plays with Dante's Roadhouse. And with us, he usually plays guitar and mandolin. Today he's going to talk about his approach to playing with us and how he uses a lot of techniques and scales and things that he learned and picked up from his days playing old-time fiddle tunes and things like that.
Right, well, I started playing mandolin a number of years back. I spent a lot of time playing music in West Virginia, and I learned some traditional fiddle tunes from that part of the country, and I'm now using parts of those tunes in the music I'm playing nowadays.
So before we dive too deeply in, just tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now with all the different bands that you play with and how you kind of got started in music in general and all that.
Off and on, I go to a really good open mic in our area in High Point, North Carolina, and that's at a place on North Main Street in High Point called Wi-Fi and Wine. And the open mic is on Thursday nights, and I met a woman there, Renee Page, and she likes to play a lot of music from the 90s as well as originals. And so I'm playing mandolin with her. Sometimes we work as a duo, sometimes as a band. And I've been working with some other songwriters in the triad. I also play in a rock band from Winston-Salem. They're called Dante's Roadhouse. I play keys in that band.
You play everything. How many instruments do you play? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I mean, altogether, I have played a total of about 6 instruments. Not right now, a couple of those have dropped by the wayside, but so yeah, I'm a piano player, and of course that translates into keyboards, mandolin, guitar, and some banjo.
Was keys your first instrument?
Piano. I started piano lessons at the age of 7.
So Eddie's going to share with us a little bit about how he uses his background in folk music and old-time music to translate into the stuff he does with contemporary bands today.
In a moment, we're going to play a Brown Mountain Lightning Bugs tune, but I wanted to show you a traditional tune that comes from, or what I play in that song anyway. And this is a traditional fiddle tune I learned in West Virginia. So in that part of the tune, I really like this scale. And it's some kind of minor scale, and they've taken one note out of it. So, whatever tune I'm playing, I can just start messing around on that scale, and it seems to fit in really well.
Well, I guess we're going to play a little touch of White Winter Blankets to let you hear how he uses that scale in that particular tune. whenever you go to design a part that you're going to play in an original song like this, what leads you to the scales that you decide to use?
A lot of it's intuition or trial and error. But when I'm playing over a scale or a mode or a part of a scale, I listen to notes that might not fit. In fact, we were just warming up with one of the tunes that you guys wrote, and I realized, I had to change one of the notes in there. So, I'm always kind of adapting things according to the situation. But breaking down this tune, we were just playing White Winter Blankets. It starts off, if I'm not mistaken, on a F major 7th chord. Okay. And that's a bit like an F chord, except on top you've got an E natural, not an F, but E natural, okay? So if you look at the third tone of that chord would be an A. So I can start there on an A, and I'm playing basically what is a kind of a minor scale. But if you notice that right about there, I'm skipping over a note. And this comes from the traditional tune that I just played, There it is right there. That. Which is... That sounds more like an Irish tune with a dotted 8 rhythm, and there's no surprise to that because not only is there a significant Celtic influence on many of traditional West Virginia tunes, but many of the traditional musicians in that state play Celtic music as well as old-time music. So it's a very natural connection. So this would be... looks like, A to B to C to D to E, which would be the first half basically of an A minor scale. Now there's several minor scales, and they do different things when they get toward the end of the scale. But so from the E note, so I'm skipping to a G. So that's like a minor third right there.
Right.
So going from an E to a G to the A, and then here it goes again. So A, B, C, sounds like the alphabet, right?
Yeah.
D, E, okay, and then skipping a minor third from the E to a G back to the A.
So you're basically the point where you're skipping the F or the F sharp, either which one, which is cool to me because the key of the song is basically F. So I would have never in my mind made that connection to leave that particular note out. So I think that's really cool that it sounds so good. So that's really neat in my opinion.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out, Zach, because I also studied jazz theory for many years. I'm not a good jazz player, but I learned a lot from it. So, for example, when I do voicings in the left hand on piano, I will often leave out the root. And that's, in a roundabout way, what I'm doing in that scale is I'm not playing the F, which would be the root of that chord. It just so happens, that I'm skipping over the root because you guys are playing that.
Right.
Why do I need to play it?
Somewhere, yeah. You had another one that you wanted to pull out for us, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what this next tune is.
Okay, well, I showed up this evening, and these guys were playing a new tune that I had not heard before in G minor. You want to play a little bit of that?
Yeah. the groove and everything seems pretty atypical for the instruments that we're playing it on. I always, whenever we play that one live, I always say, so thanks for listening to the funk banjo song. So how did you choose to approach something that is essentially a vamp on a funk rhythm on one minor chord?
There's another way of playing a kind of a scale, and these are called modes. And it's actually, a very ancient concept.
Moon. Leave Eddie alone.
Additional audience member here.
You can't see her, but she's there. Go lay down.
Four-footed furry friend. Yeah, so we'll talk about a G minor mode. And interestingly, I had to alter one of the notes from what I usually play based on the tune. Just, so I'm not only using, what I have imprinted in my mind in terms of a scale or a mode to play, but I'm also listening to what's happening in the moment and making adjustments. So with my friend Renee Page, I found that this kind of G minor mode worked well with a lot of her tunes. And of course, it's the gift that keeps on giving. You can just keep playing it. Now this is where you kind of have to stop and think, what is it exactly? So what I was just playing, starting on a G, A, B flat, C, D, and then it's got an E flat in it, to an F, to a G. So the way that works is, let's for simple purposes, let's take the key of C. So you're playing all the white keys on the piano. So if you started on an A note and played to the next A, and you played all white keys, that would be the Aeolian mode. And the ancient Greeks came up with this. It was used all through the Middle Ages. It's nothing new. You get it in old-time music too. Mm-hmm. And so not only does it give you a special sound, but it's sort of like, any note, or I would say, not 100% of the time, but most of the time, most any note you play on the mode is going to fit into the tune.
Right.
Now, what was interesting about the tune we just played is I had to alter a note of the scale. Not in E flat, but I found for some reason in E natural fit better. And so now I'm down to just a B flat, which means that might be a G Dorian scale. So I'm starting on G and I'm playing in the key of F major, but I'm going from a G to a G. So there's one flat in it, B flat. And I really can't explain why I changed that note to that note, but play your thing.
Well, I'm wondering, maybe just see if this is what maybe the ticket there, because there's this chromatic part that we keep playing in between all the other bits. That's like, see,
if I play an E flat there, it just doesn't fit, does it?
Yeah.
So now. And so it sort of gives me a menu, or like stepping stones, notes that I can play, which will most likely be a good note. But I'm also thinking of notes that I would avoid. So I'm avoiding that E flat, definitely. Mm-hmm. That just wouldn't, most likely it would be hard to find a place for that E flat to fit in this tune that you guys are playing.
I want to ask this because I did a video last week about improvising leads.
I saw that. Yes.
How much of when you're improvising a lead, how much of it is basically having one of these scales in mind and completely going off into those on with whatever you can come up with it, and how much of it is like you have licks that that you go to regularly? Because to me, it's like almost a 50-50 thing. Sometimes I'm improvising off of a scale, and sometimes I'm playing licks that I already have in mind that I've got muscle memory for.
Yeah, improvising isn't just totally pulling something out of a hat. You are going back to, certain licks. Along with those licks, I'm playing part of the scale. I might play half of the scale, or I might play all of the scale. It just kind of depends. But something special happened. Last time I was playing with Renee Page, she really likes this song by REM, if you remember that band, Losing My Religion.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started soloing on what I think was a G major scale, but it was over a different kind of chord, maybe an A minor chord or something like that. It just started working really well. So, I took a second chorus, and, the band seemed to respond, and things seemed to gel. And so I took a third chorus, which is unusual for me, But at that point, in the next rehearsal, I just told the band, I had no idea what I was doing, other than the scale that I was playing, because see, that kind of ensures that I'm going to play a good note.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay on the scale, not that you might not alter the scale or leave some notes out. That being said, don't play just scales, because that's what it's going to sound like.
Right.
Is a scale, but it's based on the tones of that scale.
To add into what Eddie's saying there, the scale gives you a home base to know where you're at, but you're still finding something musical that you can do in the context of that scale. So you're always thinking from the musical standpoint, even though the scale is the sort of muscle memory thing that you can go to, that that all of these notes will work, but you still have to find something musical to make them do the work, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So if you're just somebody who does not ever play lead, you've always been a rhythm person, what would your strategy be for someone like that? Someone like me.
Well, particularly an instrument like guitar, a good teacher told me once that she didn't think most guitar players really knew the notes that they were playing.
Right.
Except for the notes on the sixth and possibly the fifth string, because that's where the roots are, that you know where you are. Oh, I need to play a C chord up the neck, so I know where I need to go, because my root is probably going to be on the sixth string, let's say. But like those other notes of that chord you're playing, you don't really know.
Right.
You just, the chord shape.
Mm-hmm.
So in a similar fashion, playing lead, you would probably want to start on a chord tone, but not necessarily the tonic. In other words, like if it's a C chord, you might not want to start on a C. Like start on a different note. And then, I don't know, I would play along to recordings, pick a player whom you like and just start playing along with them. I think it's important to do a lot of it by ear, but also you're kind of anchored because, you know where you are, particularly like, those roots along the sixth and fifth string. And I mean, just do it, just a lot of practice, and then, getting into the modes, learning those, because then that's going to more or less ensure that you're going to play a right note. I think the hard thing about playing lead is you get going and all of a sudden you hit a bad note and you're like, ooh, the whole thing falls apart. Another teacher told me this, that you're only a fret away from a good note.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you hit a bad note, just slide up or down, and chances are you'll land on something good.
Sounds like it was intentional.
Right.
As long as you play that hammer on quick enough or the pull off quick enough, it'll sound just right.
Yeah. So Eddie, plug your socials and your bands and where all you're playing. Just give us a quick rundown of where you're going to be in the next couple months and how we can keep up with you.
The two bands I play in mainly that we have already booked for 2020, and so that would be Renee Page. We play frequently in the Triad, and you can find her on Facebook. She also has a website. And then my rock band, Dante's Roadhouse, we also have a Facebook page. So if you want to just go to those pages and like those. Then you'll find out about our events.
All right, cool beans. So thanks for watching, and thanks again to Eddie for coming out. If you enjoy what we post here on the Bug Jar, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can keep up with everything that we're doing, and give this video a thumbs up and share your comments, and don't forget to keep up with Eddie and all of your other favorite local musicians on their social media. See you next time.